Well, thank you for joining me. My name is Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist, New South Wales, Australia. I want to talk about covert emotional incest. The first thing I want to say is incest is a very sensitive word. We have to be careful that we get our definition right with it, because incest is a very wounding word. Even the sound of it when you say incest can cause a lot of sensitivity and wounding, because it's a horrible thing that happens to people. Now, covert emotional incest, while the word covert is used, it can also be quite clearly displayed. It's not necessarily a hidden thing. The dynamics of it are hidden, the way in which these emotional exchanges and enmeshments and bonding take place, but the actions of it are very, very clearly displayed at times. It's a horrible thing to see, it's a horrible thing to be involved in, but the people that are in it, as nasty and as cruel as it is, usually aren't aware of the bond in which they've formed between themselves. That's my introduction for this talk. Covert emotional incest, as I said before, is covert in the sense of the exchanges taking place in the psyche realm, the psyche between these people. It's formed, sadly, through breakdowns in families and things that have happened to families that you wouldn't wish on anybody, because we all want our families to stay together and function and have a formation that gets to the end, and we could say that was a journey that we made and we're grateful for. With covert emotional incest, everything goes into dysfunction. Now we've got to understand that we're not talking about the maternal level, the healthy maternal level of parent-child interaction. We're talking about a dysfunctional form of relationship that has crossed boundaries of which children shouldn't be allowed to cross into an adult dimension, and of which adults shouldn't cross and expose the children or the child to this dimension of their life. It's an intrusion into personal areas that takes place but shouldn't. Usually the adult sets up the child as a surrogate partner and starts to, under the guise of love and maternal love, and they don't mean to do this. What you've got to remember, these usually are good people that are on the end of their own hurts and ways in which they're trying to consider the welfare of each other, but the welfare and the way in which they're trying to deal with this world is dysfunctional. And it causes dysfunction. There's a lot that happens with this. So as whatever the breakdown is, and now we have a child that's being made a surrogate partner, because people don't like to be on their own. We all need to express ourselves and have exchanges, but our private life with our children can get all screwed in. And these exchanges become lust-driven. There's a lust underlying this, where the adult and the child start to mesh in a dimension outside of a natural maternal healthy bond. Now, whilst on the surface you can't see any harm being done, there's no harm in this. It's all, relatively tasteful. But underneath it all, there's consequences to this kind of enmeshment, and the consequences can be dire. Whilst the adult and child and other things inside the group, inside the tribe, inside that culture, are aware of these kind of things. Usually there's a golden child that's put in the place of the surrogate mother, a partner, but sometimes the children will, if there's more than one child, share that role. The people in that tribe, whilst they know there's more than a parent-child relationship going on here, they will accept what's going on. But sometimes you'll have conflicts in the form within the circle itself. I'm not talking about outsiders coming in there. Within that circle itself, where there's struggles for that position with the parent. Oh, you favour him more than me. Oh, you favour her more than me. Why can't I? Why did they? But it's all on an emotional plane. How come you? It's all on this emotional soul tie plane. There's a battle to get the best soul tie position with the parent. These are the covert parts of the emotional incest. These are the transitional parts that are taking place inside the tribe before anybody comes in, that are taking place. There's wars going on. And this war then, if it's just the mother and the child, can be isolated to just the two, where everything's going right 1 minute while this enmeshment's being manifest. And then all of a sudden, for no reason, there's conflict, which is the consequence of this kind of behaviour, because it's not normal, natural behaviour, and it can't be kept up. It can't be kept up. It comes in the form of lust, and when it goes well, the emotions are stroked in such a way that there's like a sense of relief, that it's not manifested on the normal maternal plane, completely out of order. This is what's happening inside the tribe or the circle of people where this is taking place. You'll often see these children standing over their mother on the one hand and then submitting to the mother the next. You'll see the mother getting angry at the child, be it passively or actively, and then serving this child in excess. And in fact, as a matter of fact, the child becomes, in some parts, the parent, and the parent becomes the child. And then the child will become the child again, and the parent will become, and there's all this stuff taking place inside the relationship. Before anybody even comes in, you have to know what's going on before you come in. Now, how do you recognize covert emotional incest? The first thing you'll see, and again, it's two ways, is the parent submitting to the child in a way in which is a form of bondage, but it all looks grandiose. It all looks like, oh, I need to do this for my child. But there's a form of bondage associated with this, where it becomes out of order, and the parent's actually serving the child, not as a child, but as a form of authority. And then this role changes, and the parent can be the form of authority over the child, not in a parental way, but in a dominating, controlling, intimidating way, to to make sure the child stays under their sphere of influence. And it's all about these influences and how the influence of the child over the parent is working and how the influence over the child is working. And this is all happening before anybody even comes in to this relationship. Now, underneath all of this, they love each other. If there is the normal maternal element of love, but the compensating factors of the missing primary partner and the surrogate child as the partner or children, these roles can change. You can be up against 3, 4, 5 children. Don't worry about just the one. If the parent hasn't made order of all this and protecting the relationship from this dysfunctional soul tie or soul ties, then you're walking into a dimension that you possibly are not going to understand until it's too late. You'll see the parent serving the child excessively. You'll see the child wanting to be grandized for little things. There's aggrandizement that the child requires from the parent when they do things. You'll see the parent and child colluding. You'll see the parent and the child making humour of things that people and things that have gone not their way. They'll justify their wrongs between each other. They'll victimise people that have possibly even tried to be motivating and inspiring. They'll undermine anything that will come towards this bond in a way in which it might be undermined. And it's fierce, and it's blatant, and it won't be broken. It'll be protected. Because the lust involved in these interactions, the sense of lust, and I say lust, but it's actually an emotional form of ego stroking and erotica taking place. Everybody's building each other up in a sort of a frenzy in a way. Like there's all different emotions there's all different things firing off inside the emotions of these people, which grandizes the dysfunctional bond. But that's the manic side of it. Then there's the depressive side of it. It goes up and down like a spring or a ball on a spring. Everything can be high one minute and low the next. Then there'll just be the mundanity of it. And this is where it gets out of balance, because if you've just got the normal maternal thing going on, then everything's in harmony. Now, everything can be in harmony to a point with all these little covert emotional incest, surrogate child-to-parent relationship things happening can all go smooth, be running smooth. There's no severe conflict going on. But introduce an outsider and everything changes. And that's where we'll take our next talk. This is Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist, New South Wales, Australia. Bye for now.